Sunday Night Safran. Religion, politics, culture, and lisping.
Shalom, salam, pax, dear listeners, and to you also, Father Bob.
The hoochies are gone.
Tonight we have the star. Well, she's not really
Who?
the star, but she's second tier. I don't know. If you're like in a film for like 10 minutes and you have like maybe 5 or 6 lines or whatever, what do you call that?
That's a key performer.
Key performer from Adam Sandler's You Don't Mess with the Zohan. His new smash hit, we have Maysoon Zayid, the Palestinian-American comedian who's in that film. And she's going to be telling us all... Because the film has... People might be listening going, why are you talking about You Don't Mess with the Zohan on Sunday Night Safran? The film, the plot, is based around Middle East tensions.
Yes, of course.
I didn't invite you to. I saw it. I didn't invite you even though I had a spare ticket because I just thought it'd be too awkward sitting there.
Awkward.
We also are going to be talking to Roy Williams, some dude who's either telling the truth or playing a trick where he's pretending he was an atheist and he's really smart and he was a lawyer and stuff, and then he applied his law-like logic to theology and decided, yep, there probably is a God. Although, but you don't know with these people. He could have, it could be a trick. Yeah, it could be a trick. Like he always did believe in God. Anyway, we have a man I've wanted to talk to for a while, and I'm sure it's going to be anticlimactic when I finally talk to him, and I'll stutter over the interview because I'm nervous. Damian Thompson, who's written an interesting and excellent book called Counter Knowledge, exposing conspiracy theories, quack medicine, bogus science, and fake history.
Yeah, taking all the fun out of it.
Well, yes and no. But he's a bit like Richard Dawkins in that he's still... The way he takes the fun out of that, he adds fun into his position, so kind of all balances out. And we're also going to have Simon Landid, the choir leader from St. Bahita's Choir, a Sudanese-Australian choir. And they're going to be doing Religious Song of the Week. Hey, Bob.
We better learn to pronounce these names.
Talking about religion, and I watched this ad this week for McDonald's, right? And it comes on, all the good lighting and all the fun and action, and then it comes up. A bagel! McDonald's has a bagel meal. And me, like all the other children of Israel around Australia, were getting all excited. It's like, McDonald's introduces the new bagel, right? And we all go, woohoo! And we're running around, we're so excited. And then guess what happened?
What happened? ...
with ... bacon!
Don't say that.
The new McDonald's bagel, the first time they've ever made any effort to make inroads or kind of allowances for people from a different ethnicity who prefer a bagel to a burger, and then they shove bacon in.
Oh, that's no good, John.
They claim it's the...
What a faking.
They claim it's the Mac American burger. It's this one where they've got a new... For the Olympics, and they've got a burger for each continent.
Yeah.
So they sum up every continent with a burger. So, then there's the Mac Europe or whatever. The Mac Africa is pretty... Because I was walking past the McDonald's and it was all top of mind because I'd seen the Mac Bagel bacon burger. And I looked at the poster on the outside and it had all the 5 continents.
Of the world,
and the Mac Africa. Because, of course, when you read Mac Africa, the first thing you think of when, word associated with Africa is starving people and not enough food and stuff. So the way they've dealt with that, they've kind of got on the defensive. And I think they've really made it really big and filled with heaps and heaps of meat and ingredients.
What kind of meat? You mean elephant meat or something?
No, it's not elephant meat, but it's like twice as big as the Mac Europe and as the Mac Americana.
It's for white Africans.
No, it's because they were sitting there like me when they first found out that they had to come up with a Mac Africa burger, and they're like, oh my God, all I can think of is those World Vision ads and not enough food and all those airdrops. Oh my God. And they've gone too far the other way. They've made it too big the other way, and it's so big and so packed with stuff, it's kind of, you can't stop thinking about how they've only done it on purpose. So to draw our minds, to draw our minds away from the fact that they're all starving in Africa, but they're not. It hasn't worked.
I reckon you should pursue that bagel with the fakin.
The bagel with the yeah.
Have you, why not? Tastes the same. We had it here in the studio. I couldn't tell the difference.
It'll be like an alternate meal that I can bring in.
Oh yeah, but why couldn't they do it themselves?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a good investment of my time to try to lobby McDonald's into bringing up a...
Have we got any children of Israel who have got a McDonald's franchise?
Nothing
your
jumps
area.
to mind.
No.
Nothing
All right,
immediately
righto.
jumps to mind.
Because he could slip, you see, if he was there, Levi or somebody, he could take out the bacon with gloves, rubber gloves and that, and he could, and wash his hands after that,
Yes.
and then put on the rubber, and then he could slip the bacon where there was bacon. Now imagine that as a unique selling point.
Oh, by the way, dear listeners, if you don't know, Faken's this thing you can buy from the Carlisle Street Coles New World,
Mention their names, yes.
which is put out by a kosher delicacy.
Named
I can't remember their name.
Brothers Kamaradzov.
And it's like it simulates sliced bacon.
It smells
but,
like
but it's got
bacon?
no bacon in it. So
No.
if you follow the Torah,
Yeah.
and the
You're
Tanya,
sweet.
and the Talmud,
Yeah.
and the Zohar,
All right. And the red cord. All of that.
Yes.
Or you could slip into
you can have the Faken.
You can go in and get the bagel itself, and then you can do a substitution of the bacon for the bacon.
Yes.
In the men's room or something. See what I mean? Now, don't say that it's true.
I see exactly what you mean.
Or you, instead of having condom machines in the
Yes.
men's room,
Of
which is why
McDonald's.
Catholics are not allowed in the men's room at McDonald's,
Yeah.
you could have a bacon machine.
Yes.
See what I mean?
That's a
Now, that
great
would make it
plan.
easier for them. So long as they didn't mix up the uses of, you know what I mean?
We'll talk more.
Yeah, I
after
think this is getting more intellectual as the year goes on. Ladytron with Ghosts, Sunday Night Safran, were on Triple J, believe it or not.
Thank you, Father Bob. Now, I
That's my
noticed last
pleasure.
week when I brought up the whole issue of cannibalism,
Yeah, I
because I'm
didn't-
reading
yeah.
the book Eat Thy Neighbour, A History of
Yeah,
Cannibalism
yes.
by Daniel Day and Mark P.
Bit
Donnelly.
unsavoury, that was.
That you were very liberal, considering you're like a Catholic priest and you're like very strict about things like abortion and contraception
Yes,
and homosexuality.
yes.
This whole cannibalism thing. You're
Yeah,
quite,
we're a bit
you're-
soft on that.
Yeah, you're very... And I thought maybe that was just you being all open-minded
No,
and
but
liberal.
you've got it in there, the Roman Catholic position. is-
Your people just come up constantly in my book, Eat Thy Neighbours. They talk about how when the Catholic Spanish
Yeah.
first went to the Americas and they
Yes.
met the Incas,
Yes.
the Incas, what they did, and also those other Peruvian
Yeah.
people with the, the headdress.
What,
and
Aztecs
the
or
flap-
something?
Yes, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Let's be accurate.
They, because they used to sacrifice people
Yes.
and carry them up the ziggurat and offer them up to the gods
Yes.
and eat them. But then they were insulted by the Catholics because the Catholics were like saying, how can you do this? How can you eat people? And they said, we only eat what we're sacrificing to God. You actually eat your God, and that is disgusting to us.
Ah, what a lovely twist.
So these cannibals...
They got it in one.
These cannibals, don't you reckon if you're actually eating people yourself, like sacrificing and eating people yourself, maybe that's an issue where you shouldn't be taking the high moral ground? Usually I'm not on your side, the Catholics, but in this particular case, I'm not on the side of
but
the
haven't
Incas
they
who
got-
are coming up with these technical arguments.
They have got this nice point of view, John, however, as have many other ancient civilizations, that your enemy has got to be treated with respect. So that if you beat your enemy in combat,
Yes.
you eat his heart to show respect. I will eat this man's strength. But as you know, we have segued into the modern age. So we don't do that anymore. We just
Now,
take
another
your
big
bank account.
Catholic cannibalism issue happened in 1972 when the Uruguayan... I think
Aeroplane.
Yes, crashed into the Andes.
Righto.
Filled with some football team,
Yeah.
full of Catholics.
Yeah.
And then it was like, they're out there, and it's like, do we eat the dead people or not?
Yeah.
But the argument they had, according to this book, wasn't just this sort of practical one. It was a theological one. All the survivors were staunch Roman Catholics, and nearly all of them flatly refused even to contemplate cannibalism.
Yes.
Roberto Canessa, a medical student, argued that the dead were no longer human beings, that
Yes.
their souls were with God, and what was left behind was just the same as any other meat.
Yeah.
He also pointed out that it was the survivors' duty to their families, to God, and to themselves to remain alive until they were rescued. Some agreed, but no one was willing to take the first step across the boundary into savagery. Finally, Canessa led the way. One of those who only reluctantly joined in the consummation of human flesh was Pedro Algorta. Pedro, does that make him a father?
No, it doesn't make him father at all.
He
Go
could
on,
have just
Peter,
been called
Peter.
Pedro. who justified what he was doing by comparing the act with Holy Communion, saying that Christ had sacrificed himself so that mankind could be saved, and in effect their deceased companions were making a similar sacrifice.
That's a long bow, isn't it?
Do you reckon he's working his way backwards?
I think so, but in fact you'd be in the position of, well, you don't have to, but you can.
And by the way...
But your lot might say that you have to.
My lot?
Yeah, because you've got...
Excuse me, I've read this, there's nothing about the Jews eating people.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that yous would, in fact, work it through so that it was, in fact, a duty, you see. But you haven't... Are you telling us...
I have a moral problem with the bagel bacon burger, so trust me, I've got a problem with eating human flesh. But by the way, if there's any racists listening who are like... going, ha, 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 yes, John, we're on your side and you're on our side,
yes.
White supremacy, because you're telling us all about these darkies eating people. Let me tell you, it happened the other way round too. Do you know, Jeremiah Johnson, he was a whitey who was in the Americas, and apparently some indigenous Indians ate one of his family, and this infuriated him so much that over several years he went on this rampage where he kept on killing and eating the Indians as an act of revenge.
Oh, yeah.
And he just ate, hundreds.
What, whether one of his versus 100 of the others?
Yeah, I don't know. He just ate hundreds. And also there was a white Australian who ate a couple of his companions up in the early days.
That's the
convict. Early days.
That's the famous convict whose name escapes me, whose name is... Ta-da! I forget.
Can I just... Because we know, how old are you now?
There's a taboo, isn't there? Is there a taboo not to eat human flesh?
Yes, actually, I thought that was a bit of a given, but maybe we should have started off this conversation with that. Dear listener, there's a bit of a taboo about eating human flesh.
Isn't there?
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, but I mean, we haven't got opportunities around the traps just now, have we?
No.
We lock them up in cellars and things, and we starve them to death in flats.
Well, not many of us.
No, not many of us, but that's open to us.
Yes.
But I don't know. The other thing seems to be taboo, doesn't it?
This, the conclusion of this book...
Until McDonald's deteriorates rapidly, people won't be inclined, I think, to eat one another.
This book has got the most ridiculous conclusion.
We should stop talking about this, because this could become grotesque and a self-fulfilling wish.
Oh, what, the next thing you know, we've gobbled up...
Well, the next thing you know, somebody's
producer.
missing from the front desk or something. You know? And who will they go to knock on whose door? Not yours, because
How awkward will that be if,
Yeah.
How if someone gets eaten around this area
serial
in the next week?
eater.
And then it's but we really haven't done it? But everyone, who's going to be listening is going to be going, it would have had to have been one of them.
Well, the ABC
what a
also...
coincidence.
The ABC...
How could they have been talking about it one week? And we'll be going, my
Exactly.
God, it was just a fluke. I swear to God, we never gobbled up that woman.
It wasn't me, Sergeant, because I thought they said we need eaters, meaning heaters. Not install an eater in every office.
At the end of this book, they try to sum it up.
It's a ghastly book, that.
All they've got is
rip that cover off. That's a terrible... Do you read that in the tram? So it's a wonder you're allowed... You're allowed off. You should be taken somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you. On the front of this book called Eat Thy Neighbour, History of Cannibalism, he's going to sit next to a nice, pious person on the tram reading this and wonder why he's arrested at the tram stop. Hey?
Okay, I'm not going to tell you how it ends up. But
tell me how it ends up. What happens with it?
Basically, at the end, the authors of this book, they're trying to make out this is like an academic book, when really all it is like one of those books that high school boys like to buy with gross out things in it, and just got its hard cover with a Goya painting on the front and this posh font. They're trying to make out it's this academic kind of anthropological book.
Yeah, it looks
but
just glossy.
Yeah, but it just isn't. It's just this lowbrow book about eating people. But at the end, they try to have this conclusion based on their findings.
Eat the author.
It would be comforting to be able to present a tiny summation at this point. But the fact is, there is nothing tidy about cannibalism. What we can conclude is that in a world where every nasty act is pounced on by a gloating media, blah, 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 things are swept under the carpet, blah, blah, blah. But as to whether or not there really are more cannibals among us than there used to be, we are forced to conclude that the answer is yes.
Oh.
But they don't have any freaking evidence about this, but they're trying to build up. The whole last chapter is trying to get us panicky that there's they use the expression rising tide of cannibalism.
Ooh. Yeah, exactly. Don't travel with a knife and fork in your pocket.
I don't want to keep on hammering.
No, I don't want to hear any more about it. That's awful stuff.
But can I just talk because this is relevant to you?
Oh,
because as we know, how old are you? 73.
74.
74 now.
I was. Well,
You're just
I was
a bit
born
older
in 34.
Just a little older than Harrison Ford.
All right.
And can I suggest this is a way you might want to, because you don't want to keep on like just...
What, deteriorating?
Yeah, forever and ever and ever. And
go on, get to the point. What is it?
Well, it happened in Papua New Guinea in the 19th century.
They ate the priest.
In Papuan tribes, and I think I'm just suggesting, I'm not saying it had... One of the tribes had the custom of taking out its grandparents, that's you in this example, when they have become too old to be of any use to the tribe.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
And tying them loosely in the branches of a tree. The populace will then form a ring around the tree and indulge in an elaborate dance. As they dance, they cry out, "The fruit is ripe! The fruit is ripe!" And then they close in on the tree and violently shake its branches so that the old men and women come hurtling down to the ground below, there to be seized and devoured by the younger members of the tribe.
Oh, I wouldn't like that. I mean, not even cooked.
No.
Eaten raw.
Yes.
Well, that would brighten up, I suppose, inner city life, wouldn't it? And at the Fed Square.
Yes, it'd be good.
You see, instead of...
No, at your church, in the background of your church.
Yes, in the
front
playground.
yard.
Why not?
Hey, we're going to be talking to...
Yeah, put that away, that book. Get rid of that book.
We're going to be talking to Maysoon Zayid from You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Now, which is
after this?
The grossest. It's The Weight of the World by the Beautiful Girls, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Joining us from the West Bank in Palestine / Israel. We don't want to start any fights here. We have star, or, maybe not star, but sort of like... definitely second-tier person after Adam Sandler, or a few down, Maysoon Zayid. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent. So tell us where you are at the moment, to paint us a picture so we can all just kind of build a thing in our head.
It's a bit of a grey picture. I am right now in a refugee camp right outside of Bethlehem in Palestine, and the picture right in front of me is a big, big grey wall.
Oh,
it's
excellent.
Exactly in front of me. That's where the best cell phone signal is, right by the wall.
Hey, by the way, don't trust any nuns there, because I was in Bethlehem maybe about 10 years ago, and I had a rent a car, and the nuns were saying I had enough room to kind of fit in between these two walls. And they were I was thinking like, I just don't have enough room. And they were like going, no, come. And I couldn't argue with them because they were like nuns. And then I came in, I scraped the car, and it was just really awkward.
I wish you had told me that about 6 months ago, because I was driving into an orphanage and a nun told me I could pass the gate, and I scraped the entire door of the car. Now,
you're Palestinian American, so you were born in New Jersey, were you?
I was born in New Jersey, right outside of Manhattan, about 15 minutes out of New York City. So I'm a Jersey girl at heart, and then I spend 4 months a year in Palestine, and 4 months a year I live in Hollywood. So I'm all over the place. I live on an airplane.
And where do you live when you're in Palestine? Is your family there?
When I'm in Palestine. No, my family's in New Jersey. I run a program here for disabled and wounded refugee children with the proceeds of my comedy, and I run a charity called Maysoon's Kids. So when I'm here, I have a little apartment I rent every year. They wait for me to come because tourism isn't exactly booming in the war zone. So I come and I rent an apartment each time right outside of Bethlehem.
And you part of your connection with the kind of disability charity would be informed by the fact you have cerebral palsy, do you not?
I do. I have cerebral palsy. It's actually the sexiest of all disabilities.
Really? Why is that then?
Yes, because I shake all the time.
No, but it's bad news, I guess, on some ways, but it's good news because you want to be a comedian, because you can kind of go back and forth from the Arab thing to the cerebral palsy thing.
Yeah, it gives me an edge. Whenever I start out my comedy, I say I'm a Palestinian Muslim virgin with cerebral palsy, and if you don't feel better about yourself, maybe you should. Because it's like I cover the gamut. I got, the patriarchy trying to put down the woman, and I got, Arab living in America post 9/11, and I got scary Muslim, and I got, the disability, so there's 1,000,001 things. So I can go in any direction at any time. And actually, when I do my comedy, I sometimes pick which persona I want to do. I want to do disabled stuff? Do I want to do political?
Now, tell us about You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Give us the plot line. And also what your character does.
Yes. Last night was actually an amazing night because I went to the premiere of You Don't Mess with Zohan in Tel Aviv.
Wow.
Which is, unheard of. I got ready in a refugee camp, crossed a checkpoint, and ended up on a red carpet in Tel Aviv. I was like, there's nothing more surreal than that. And I think that's actually the plot line of the movie. The idea is that Adam Sandler's character plays Zohan, and Zohan basically gets tired of killing, gets tired of being a Mossad agent, and decides to become a hairdresser. And so he comes to New York to be a hairdresser, and I'm the receptionist that works at the salon where he eventually gets the job, run by Palestinians.
Now, that was, by the way, when you first came on, I got very excited because I was, of course, watching the whole film with you in mind. Mm-hmm. And then when you only had one line at the start, I thought, oh, my God, this is going to get awkward because I'm going to be interviewing you and I'm going to have to gloss around the fact that you only have one line. But then, thank God, you had more lines after that. So,
and not only did I have more lines, I have the turning point scene. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, the turning. I didn't notice. Did you really?
Yes, it's the turning point in the movie.
Oh, really? Why? What did you do?
Well, I don't want to give away the movie.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Very big. If you remember, something huge happens for Zohan in that moment.
Now, I was reading an article where one of the other actors was trying to sort of add some drama to it, implying that, because there were Israeli actors on set and there were Arab actors on set, that there was some sort of low-level tension. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, first and foremost, when I got You Don't Mess with Zohan, I was cast in it last summer. And when I was cast in it last summer, I was actually in Palestine because I come every summer. And that idea that people are like, we don't like him because he's Jewish is so far from the truth. When I told people in Palestine I was in a movie with Adam Sandler, they went nuts because they've seen Click and they've seen Waterboy. Every Adam Sandler movie is bootlegged, and they all watch them. So they thought it was the most exciting thing in the world. So that was the impression going in. I had so much more support than I thought I would have because people really love Adam Sandler. So that was shocking. When I got on set, I would lie if I said the first day wasn't awkward because it was. I mean, the only experience I've ever had with Israelis is the army. I've never met, a civilian Israeli. So that first day, hearing the accent did scare me. It really did worry me. By day 2, we were all working together. By day 3, we had such a respect for working together that the dialogue just began to roll. And it was really amazing because as the dialogue would roll, we had such a respect for the place we were in that we started listening to each other, which is something that never happens in debates. I've been doing the Palestinian thing now on stage for 9 years, and I've never had a successful debate because it always escalates to shouting. But we had such a respect for each other, all coming here and all being willing to take that chance, that we really listened for the first time. And it got to the point where certain times there would be tears on a comedic movie set because we had really had a breakthrough. It's amazing to finally be heard, especially when you're talking to the person who's oppressing you.
I always knew they should have airdropped Adam Sandler into more conflict places around the world and it would all sort itself out.
But I think that's what Dino Bidala and I, my partner in comedy, we always said this. The way to get to people's hearts is through laughter. It's through comedy. If I'm telling a joke that has a really huge political undertone, people are going to listen to me. So when I'm telling jokes about Israeli airport security, roughing me up, or if I'm telling a joke about trying to climb the wall because I want to go on a date in Jerusalem, people laugh because they can relate to me through the laughter. But if I'm sitting there preaching and being like, they did this and they did that, no one cares because, it's just the same old story.
Now, Emmanuel Creaky Now, of course, people would say that it's controversial that a Jewish woman was cast as the main Palestinian in the film, but what they forget is she's Jewish.
Arab.
She's of Moroccan. Her parents are Moroccan, so as you say, she's arguably, depending on how you want to play the semantics, she's like an Arab playing an Arab. She's not a Jew playing an Arab.
I first of all, I have to say, I love Emmanuelle Shrieky. I love this woman. And when I met her, I have met very few people who have the confidence that she has to say, I am Arab. And I think that's amazing. And she also says, I'm French and I'm Canadian. And what I love about Emmanuelle is you can't put her in a box. And I don't like when people focus on what religion someone is, because that's neither here nor there.
You hear that, Bob?
Yes, I hear it.
Thing.
Absolutely.
Now, Bob, do you
really believe that.
Do you have any questions for Maysoon?
No, I'm as happy as a sandman, because why we got to wait until we actually talk to somebody outside Bethlehem to get some sense of the whole scene?
Thank you.
You've done that. I can sleep peacefully now.
Yes, I hope that we can start sleeping peacefully, but unfortunately, we get visitors in the middle of the night that make it difficult.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was a really amazing, incredible thing last night for me to get to the carpet, because the Israeli actors that were there were shocked that I actually came, because they knew where I was coming from. And that's why, even though it sounds really stupid, and this was what Adam kind of dreamt of, you know, is the fact that if we simplify and we just start listening, it's kind of obvious what's going wrong.
Thank you very much, Maysoon, and good luck with everything. And
hey, can I shout out my website?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. If you want to learn anything more about my comedy or read some of my crazy comedic diaries from Palestine or help the kids in any way, you can go to www.maysoon.com, Maysoon.com.
Thank you very much.
Salam. British India with I Said I'm Sorry, John, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Hey, when you dropped over the books to my
books.
place during the week, I had to read them or whatever.
Yes.
Why didn't you
Because I don't want to.
Why didn't you come in for a coffee?
I don't want to go in for a coffee. Why would I want to go in for a coffee?
Because it's like social and stuff.
Is it?
Yes.
It's not.
You barely made eye contact. You if you could have just thrown them out the window.
I said, here is the books.
I
drove the books to you. Now you're analysing it to see how much meaning you can squeeze out of it.
As much as I'm hammering you, I'm actually on your side. I can't socialise with people unless it's about work.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that this week I had to. I've noticed this a bit. You know, like if I have to meet someone, like at a cafe, it's like, oh, let's catch up or whatever, right? I prefer the time, like when they've come a bit late, and like just say they're 10 minutes late, and I'm just sitting there reading the book by myself. I prefer that time to when they turn up. It's like downhill when they... And that's if I like them.
Yeah. No, well, it crossed my mind, actually, as I thought, why don't you ask the poor bugger to come down the street? I think it's asking a bit much to actually go into your flat for a cup of coffee. It's the next guest on the wireless, you see. We look bored already, and I'm trying to explain a personal thing. We could have gone down the street, and then you'd have to answer questions from the brothers and the sisters. Who was that old fool that you were sitting with? Is that the old goy, not the old boy, the old goy that you're on the wireless with, John? See, I could have been introduced. Hello, this is Mr. Ashkenazi.
What do people talk about if they catch up and it's not work? Because, you know, this week I caught up with Julian Morrow, the guy from The Chaser, right? Because they're down in Melbourne doing their show. And it was like, oh, let's just catch up or whatever, right? So I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And then I'm just thinking, oh, my God.
What am I going to catch up about?
This is going to be, like, we're going to sit there and it's going to be, and whatever. Then he turns up and then it was kind of like, thank God he'd brought Craig Rudcastle as well.
My friend Craig Rudcastle.
So it was already, like, diluted a bit, if you know what I mean, in a good way.
Yeah.
And then we just sat around and all we talked about, we tied everything back into work because we couldn't talk about anything else.
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
what's wrong with us?
I don't know. See, that's what's happened to us, the age of the machine, John.
What do people talk about? I honestly don't know what people talk about when they don't catch up and it's not about, like imagine if you and me didn't have this show together, right?
Two robots talking.
Just say we didn't have the show together and we caught up, what the hell would we talk about?
Nothing. We've got nothing in common except humanity. We could talk about that.
Yeah,
Hello, how's your
awkward.
humanity? You'll say, I didn't go too well last week. My humanity was overcome by my the lizard part of my brain. You see? No, you should relax. We should relax and we can talk about the weather.
Yes.
I got 3 drops of rain on my windscreen.
Boring.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
We could talk about the Collingwood game against...
Oh, you see, that's my thing. I'm not into AFL football that much.
Well, you did claim to be into soccer.
Yeah, well,
But you gave that up.
No, I could get back into that if you want.
Well, why don't you join me as an ambassador for the Storm rugby team?
Yes.
Then you could travel around Australia.
Because they've got Mormons in it, don't they?
They've got Islanders who are they Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses?
Oh, that's right, Joho. Sorry, apologies.
Oh,
Joho Witnesses, not Mormon.
Exactly, yes. Anyway, we've stretched that conversation.
Father Bob,
much. We can talk about Alex.
We're going to be talking on my father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
How's Alex? You'd say he's very well. Next.
Yes.
How's your father? You'd say to me. I'd say he's dead. I say, well, try another one. How's your...
How are your children?
Exactly.
Oh, no, I have
Sorry.
none. No, I had none because
Yeah,
I never had
that,
any,
or I'd say
I never
to you,
had an intimate
who's
relationship
talking?
in my entire life.
Who's talking?
And
I'll
I
say.
don't have any lineage to pass
None of
on.
that.
And when I pass away, it's just the end of the Father Bob bloodline.
That's what I say to people now. If they say to me, listen, why don't you get yourself another coat or something? I say, well, I've got no wife or children to remind me. Daddy! What, darling? That coat you've been wearing for 35 years, Daddy, and it embarrasses us when you drop us off at school, Daddy. And I'm saying, well, hang on, you're 35. You know.
You have one person you care about. Is she your niece?
I don't, the woman that I call... of course I've got a niece.
Yes, that's the only person you care about.
No, I've got 3 nieces.
Yeah, well, that's the only...
I care about my lovely congregation of 250.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You pat them behind your back.
What are you talking
call them
about?
cheap? You tell me that they're cheap and don't put enough into the...
Well, that's only... Look, as the Chinese proverb said...
You say they don't appreciate you enough?
Did I say that too?
Yes.
That was only for the bloody script.
You say they're not... You sometimes you go to other people's churches...
But they listening to this, thank God they're all 80.
And the congregation is a bit more attractive than your congregation.
Well, it's more numerous because nothing worse than going to a very big church and there's 3 people, each behind a huge pillar.
Yes.
It's very hard to have eye contact. You know what I mean? So I go walking up and down the aisle and the church police happen to blow in and arrest me. Righto, let's get on with the business.
We're going to be talking after this to Roy Williams.
Who believes in God? Aesop Rock with None Shall Pass John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Thank you, Father Bob. Joining us in a small box in Sydney is author Roy Williams. How are you?
Very well, thank you, John.
Now, can you open up by telling us what is God actually about?
They're my reasons for believing in God, and more specifically in Christianity.
God, actually.
Yes.
Isn't it?
But you weren't always a believer. You were more of an agnostic before, growing up?
Yes, I classify myself as an agnostic leaning towards atheism until my early to mid-30s. And then I really started to think properly about all these great questions.
And what you applied, you were a lawyer, and what you applied some of the thinking you go through when you're looking at a case, you applied that to thinking about God?
I tried to, and I tried to in the book. Early on in my search, I guess I did approach it very much like a lawyer. I sought out the evidence by reading widely and got more and more intrigued and kept reading, kept trying to weigh up the probabilities, and that led to a gradual faith, although, as I'm sure Father Bob would say, there's an extra step involved which isn't a purely intellectual one.
Now, a lot of people would say that there's no rationality, and there doesn't have to be. There'd be heaps of religious people, even clergymen, who would go, There's no logical explanation for God or religion, and that's a good thing. Why did you think you needed a rational explanation?
It's true that many people come to faith via a non-rational way. In other words, probably the majority of people throughout history haven't become religious by reasoning their way to God. But I believe that there are people for whom that is perhaps the best way, or at least the best way to start.
Now, can you give us an example of a rational thought leading to an argument to believing in God?
Sure. One that I particularly like centres upon science. Indeed, it was reading about science that first got me thinking about religion. The more I read about the ordered complexity of the universe and the incredible fine-tuning of the laws that underlie it, the more I came to the view that this isn't just some kind of happy accident. There truly is all sorts of evidence of design, and in fact even a lot of the atheist authors that have been so popular lately concede that. I mean, it is a fact. The question is, what deduction do you draw from it? I mean, one example that is often used are the four fundamental forces of nature: gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. Physicists have demonstrated that if any one of those four forces, which have existed since the moment of the Big Bang, unchanged more or less, if any one of those four forces was even slightly different, the universe just would not exist, in the form, at least, in which we see it. Now, it would be chaotic, and certainly there would be no life.
Now, we always like fights on this show, and I read that you've spotted weaknesses. Your book addresses weaknesses in the arguments put forth by Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, and people like that, who are like the new cool atheists.
Well, they are.
Well, the Four Horsemen, they were called, aren't they?
Well, there's more than four of them. I've now got the honour of being on Richard Dawkins' website.
As a flea, I think he calls
As a flea, which is a new term for someone who has the audacity to question anything that...
I like that because he both insults you but also says you're powerless. It's like this double insult. Like, yes, he's totally wrong and annoying, but he's as small as a flea. It's a bit rude, really.
To be fair to Richard Dawkins, yes. It's not him who's saying these things, at least in my case. It's some of his supporters on his website. And let me be absolutely clear, I am a great admirer of Richard Dawkins' writings about biology, and I don't question the basics of evolution. Indeed, I think evolution itself, the more you read into it, is a kind of proof of God, or at least of some kind of design in nature, because the evolutionary process itself is extraordinarily fine-tuned, and it hangs by a thread.
Science gives information, and religion gives meaning, I was reading the other day, which I found a nice balanced little formula. Roy Williams, author of God, Actually, thanks for being with us, and a lovely book and being recommended from here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot,
It's
Roy.
a pleasure.
Cape Cod Kwasa Kwasa by Vampire Weekend, John, in Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
It's like when you get a new car and you're driving and you notice everyone else has the car. Ever since I've been reading this book on cannibalism.
Yes,
it's
put it away.
Everything's cannibalism. It's like Vampire Weekend.
Isn't it?
And in the news, just this week, there's big cannibalism news this week.
Yes.
So you mock at the authors of Eat Thy Neighbour for saying there's this kind of rising tide of cannibalism.
Yes.
But just this week in Japan, there was an execution of Japan's most reviled serial killer, who was branded by the media there as the cannibal nerd, who preyed on primary school girls and drank their blood. And he was hanged
Hanged, I think.
Hanged this week.
But also here I notice in the notes left behind by the previous presenter.
Before we came in.
Food on
18.
Friday, a honey challenge. A tiny mite called Varroa could wipe out the honey industry in Australia.
What?
Eating.
I wasn't concentrating. Eating what?
Eating the honey. Or eating the bees. This might be a tiny mite that eats the bees.
I think in future weeks we're going to be talking to someone who's
the
written
honey.
a book
Yeah, I
about-
hope so.
This, dear listener, is this weird thing I think I talked about before. When I was in America and you listen to the slightly left of centre kind of anti-government radio stations,
Yeah.
they all talked about this conspiracy theory about bees.
Wipe out the bees.
Because bees have been getting wiped out recently in the last couple of years.
yeah.
And there's this whole thing about...
Is it global warming or not?
Nah, it's all like George Bush is doing it on purpose.
Is
for
that
some
a
reason.
conspiracy theory? We'll ask Damian about that.
The man who butchered his brother to death, this is also news just from this week,
God.
and ate his forelimbs in Ghana will be charged next week for murder. Osman Amudu killed his brother, cut his arms for supper, and buried the remaining parts of the body together with the weapon he used for the dastardly act.
Ghana, did you mention?
Ghana.
This hand is the hand that shook the hand of, what's his name, the boxer? Azuma Nelson, John. Look at it. That's the hand that shook the hand of Azuma Nelson, who's fighting Jeff Fennick this coming week. And I know you're not in favour of violent boxing.
2 Muslim women at Barack Obama's rally in Detroit on Monday were barred from sitting behind the podium by campaign volunteers seeking to prevent the woman's headscarves from appearing in photographs or on television with the candidate. The campaign has apologised to the women, both Obama supporters, who said they felt betrayed by their treatment at the rally.
Oh, because of the...
I've actually thought about that before. This is how evil... Because Barack, he does his, daily talk, and there's always people in the background, and I have watched it and thought to myself...
No scarves.
No, I haven't thought that. I have thought, Barack, interesting choice that you've put... Because people's expectations are that you're affiliated with the black community, and you've chosen an interesting array of people there. And I knew it just wasn't an accident. It was a bit like I saw the Rolling Stones IMAX film recently, and suspiciously everyone in the front row was quite attractive and young. I was thinking, that's very convenient, and I reckon they just...
Yeah. So
I
the ugly one can sit over there. Betty?
Yes.
Go into the back row, love.
Speaking
The fat man, the priest in the front there, bald as well, doubly handicapped.
Speaking of... Do you
Go
know...
right out of the studio.
This is totally coincidental, but the Rolling Stones in 1984 wrote a song that was about a Japanese cannibal.
That's coincidental, isn't it?
And now you're going to say I just brought up the whole Rolling Stone attractive people in the front row, so I could segue into that.
Yeah, no.
But I think it was
you've
called
researched that
something with blood. I forget what it is. I'll Google it during our next song break.
All right.
Now, Bob, I see you mix are causing trouble again in England of all places.
What are we doing? Because we're not going to let Dan Brown's Angels and Demons
Oh, yeah, that's right.
take over the churches in Holy Rome. That's for a start. We're not going to let Mr. Brown...
An 8-year-old Catholic boy has been told he cannot become a Cub Scout because he refuses to swear allegiance to the Queen on religious grounds. So he's like some Mick, some Catholic. He's sort of starting trouble with the... But as it's pointed
Descendant
out...
of Guy Fawkes.
When you swear allegiance to the Queen in Scouts, because I was in Scouts too, it's not like you're saying she's a goddess or anything. You're just saying she's the figurehead of the country.
Head of the Church of England, though, you see.
Oh, yeah.
That might upset the mix. See? But if they were a Bobby Waffle Mick, you see, they can slip and slide. They can metamorphise.
Can you tell me if I've bored everyone with this before?
What?
But I went to Cubs and Scouts.
Yes.
And a Jewish Cub and Scout thing, and that was one of the... if you're wondering how I became so annoying, I actually remember being, in Cubs, and being really annoying by niggling the Cub leader, because I'd somehow found out...
Michaela.
That Baden-Powell had done anti-Semitic things, and I was I'd niggle, as a little Cub so high, going, how can we have a Jewish Cub unit when it's when Baden-Powell didn't like Jews and stuff, and it was all a stuttering explanation from R. Kayla.
Kayla, not Michaela.
No, Arkayla
Oh,
and
yes.
Bailu.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I remember going on a jamboree and we were sitting around a campfire and, like, because we were like just this Jewish cub scout thing or whatever, and we're quite, civilised, like well-behaved and stuff. And I remember there seemed to be a disproportionate amount of, like...
No eating one another, none of that.
No. Of other ones they were all, like, drunk and, like...
No, they're the Catholic scouts, were
very
they?
rowdy and, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was quite scared of them all. And I remember once sitting around a camp thing, and it was like some from our little troop, the Jewish one, and there were other ones. And then someone started making Jewish jokes about gas chambers. And then I looked at it was like something about, how do you, something about Jews and pizzas
Yeah,
and
don't do
ovens.
it here,
Yeah, I
for
won't,
God's sake.
whatever. But, like, really offensive. And then our leader, he laughed at the joke, even though he didn't find it, because it was like that Aussie thing where somehow if someone says a joke about gas chambers and
Yes.
pizza and Jews, you have to prove you're a good sport by
Yeah,
laughing at it,
that's
because that's the
right, yeah.
Aussie thing to do.
Yeah.
And I looked at the leader and I thought, what a sellout.
See?
What an absolute... I'm not saying we had to fight them there and then.
No.
But, we could have put in a call to the Mossad or something.
Well,
and
that's what I
organised
mean.
something.
I mean, maybe he laughed, and at the same time he was texting you-know-who. In you-know-where.
Well done on installing...
See what I mean?
an anti-Jewish canard into my anecdote.
No, I'm still imagining you dressed up. Did you have a little cap on and all that?
And the other thing, people don't believe this.
How were you
I
with the
promise you
knots?
this is true. This is true, kiddies. I know you won't believe this, kiddies, because the world has changed. But when I was a kiddie, there was, like, real demarcation between music genres. So you didn't have all this, like, midnight juggernaut mashup kind of stuff now where it was like you're into metal or you're
Yes,
into rap.
yes.
And that wasn't, as well as my, and the other thing I remember about the Scout movement was, because I was into rap, I got a lot of hassles because they were all, like, into metal, and they just did not like that I was walking around with my baseball cap.
Yeah.
And they'd tell me about how the Beastie Boys had misappropriated the guitar riff from Slayer for No Sleep Till Brooklyn or something. And they were pretty angry about it.
What music did you sing? The Scouts songs when you were around the campfire? Can you remember that, or were you doing something ghastly to the other kiddies?
I was innocent. The worst I did,
But where did you acquire this
the worst I did, I admit this, there was
set
a
fire to Arkayla
There
or
was
something?
a kid who used to, what he'd do, he'd get a piece of rope that was like plastic-coated rope, and he'd light it on fire, and he'd drop it on bull ants and go, pew, on bull ants.
And then eat them.
And I didn't eat them.
No.
That was like the worst I did.
Yeah, but you never got pinched at all for any offence as a small child.
I was innocent, I'm telling you.
You keep saying that all the time, but I'm sure somebody will probably put in the guest book that they were sitting next to you in the Cubs camp.
Do you know one of the... and I feel bad about this. This is kind of Scout-related, but not Scout-related, is that years later... So this is like... I hadn't been in Scouts for like 10 years, right? I think I was like... And I'd just done Race Around the World or whatever on TV or whatever, and I got this phone call from someone who claimed they were from the Department of Defence, I think it was, or something like that, something in Canberra, right? And they're going, oh, we're doing a security clearance on, and then they said the name. And it was this guy that I went to Cubs and Scouts with, but, like, I just wasn't his... I hadn't, like, seen him in 10 years or anything like that, and I thought this whole thing was a prank, and I'm going, oh, is this like a prank or something? She goes, no, we do security clearances because he's about to go into a higher-level job for the Department of Defence, and we just... So they somehow tracked me, even though I was like, I just wasn't his friend. It's like I'd gone to Scouts and Cubs with him, like, 10 years earlier.
But you were there on their dossier.
Yeah, so then I had to... she organised... And I said, oh, okay. And it took me ages to kind of... be convinced this wasn't a prank, and then she came over to my place on the agreed date or whatever, and then she asked me all these questions about the background of this guy that I went to Cub Scouts with.
And you dropped him in it.
And it was really boring. All the questions were really boring except for two. There was one about whether he was homosexual, and then she said to me, she goes, listen, we're not judging anyone on
No, of
anything.
course not.
What we're doing here, it's like people can be blackmailed if they don't... if they don't sort of like reveal everything about themselves. And the other one was whether I knew that he was into Satanism or any cult activity or whatever. They were the only two interesting questions over this kind of like 1 hour of totally boredom of whatever.
Well, did you tell them about his putting pins into voodoo dolls and all of that kind of thing? And
no. I was well behaved.
The same bloke who burnt the bull ants.
I knew this was his future, so I was mature, and I didn't try to set him up or anything
But today, as we speak, he could be, in fact, responsible for the security and the safety of the Commonwealth of Australia, this person. So if you're listening out there, Agent Scully, give us a fair go.
Come out next, we're going to be talking to
this is a good
author
segue into that book, because this, in fact, is almost a conspiracy theory.
Damian Thompson, author of Counter Knowledge. Up next.
The music with strength in numbers, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Father Bob, joining us from England, is the author of a book that's going to help us be less stupid and less susceptible to stupidity. We have Damian Thompson, author of Counter Knowledge. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Now, but first, what is counter knowledge?
Counter knowledge is basically bogus information. It's pseudo-history and conspiracy theories and fake science dressed up to look exactly like the real thing. So it's Da Vinci Code style history, it's creationism, it's mad, wacky diets, and
Stonehenge and all that kind of
all
thing.
this stuff that basically can be shown not to be true, but which we're too lazy and too credulous to challenge.
Now, has the onslaught of the internet made in any way this more mainstream?
Oh, absolutely. The big message of my book, I would say, is that thanks to the internet, all sorts of bizarre theories are working their way from the fringes, where they've existed for centuries, into the mainstream, so that you can walk into a bookshop or buy almost any product which will essentially peddle theories that have been strongly discredited by science and history. And the number of internet sites that are devoted to this material is absolutely mind-boggling.
It seems to operate like, quite apart from the specifics of the individual conspiracy theories, it seems to like operate on these premises that are just flawed to begin with. Like, for example, one thing is dissent is good. Like, you'll hear that a lot. Oh, it's good to dissent and stuff. And it's like, well, everyone's against slavery these days, and so I guess to dissent you'd be pro-slavery, but like that's not a good thing. Like it seems just a ridiculous starting point.
The problem is that you can't really get your theories aired in public, or you can't get your book or your television series proper publicity unless it's saying something which is absolutely new and fresh. Whether it's true or not doesn't seem to matter. So commissioning editors on television stations are only really interested in, let's say, a program about the Egyptian pyramids if you can prove that, say, the Maoris built it. Or they're only interested in medicine if you can produce some wild theory that eating such and such a substance will cure you of cancer. Everything has to be packaged as an exciting story, whether it's true or not.
And there's a lot of it seems to play a lot to our trying to flatter us, a lot of these counter knowledge, by telling us, oh, we should be so intelligent that we can see through all the garbage that the government and that the mainstream is trying to put to us.
Absolutely.
And so we feel really cool about ourselves because we're just like Galileo or something.
Exactly. People love the idea that they've been let in on a secret that the authorities have been trying to suppress. It doesn't occur to them that, in fact, this secret has been put to them by normally a huge media operation, and that the mainstream society, capitalism, if you like, is actually trying to persuade them to consume this so-called secret in huge numbers. People are, you put your foot on it, you put your finger on it, flattered by the thought that they've got this secret information.
I've even got the book The Secret, for God's sake.
There's a book called The Secret.
Yeah, by Rhonda, isn't it? Or...
really is one of the most fatuous and objectionable examples of counter-knowledge.
Oh, gee, that's put me off, because she tells us if we have bills, we're to put the bills on the wall, stare at them, and they turn into cheques.
Well,
I tried, it never worked.
It's one of the oldest con-tricks in the book, really, in my opinion, but it's just been dressed up to sound as if she's discovered one of the secret laws of the universe, and it's been bought in unimaginably large numbers by gullible people and perhaps, desperate people. And it's so depressing to think that this rubbish is fashionable.
Now, the producer has pointed out to me on my headphones that I haven't asked you to give any examples yet, so maybe the listeners are getting irritated and don't know what we're talking about. But you're talking about things like 9/11 conspiracy theories and Holocaust revisionism and things like that, aren't you?
And not only those rather controversial examples, which are kind of distasteful, although they're certainly spreading, but stuff like homeopathy, for example. Homeopathy, to me, is one of the most blatant examples of witchcraft, if you like, of pure, undiluted quackery, or actually very diluted in the case of homeopathy, that you could think of. The more you dilute a substance, the more powerful it becomes. And it's sold by mainstream chemists all over the Western world, and even taught in universities. And that's one of the big themes of the book, the fact that this quackery is taught by institutions which should know better. They're kind of poisoning the public domain. And it might be fashionable to say, well, give people what they want. But actually, I disagree. I think that there should be people who's guardians of the public domain, if you like, intellectual guardians, who say, hang on, a fact has got to be a fact. You've actually got to employ a rational methodology to show that your claims are plausible, rather than playing all sorts of tricks, sleight of hand, that I associate with counter-knowledge.
It's always hard to bring up this debate because there's just a million red herrings in it, such as you start talking to someone about it and they're like, well, there should be free speech. And it's like, oh, okay, fine, yes, you should have free speech, but you're an idiot and your claim is stupid. Or it's good to have an open mind. It's like, yes, it is, but your particular take on this is idiotic. And it just gets kind of like, it's like this quicksand where you can't even get to the discussion because there's just all these red herrings about all these side issues.
Absolutely. In a sense, I'm exercising my right of free speech to say, you haven't provided the evidence. You're talking nonsense. And actually, proponents of counter-knowledge, they like to pretend that they're the victims of a conspiracy themselves. But as soon as you challenge their theories, they try and shut down the debate. So, for example, the quickest way at a middle-class dinner party, don't know what it's like in Australia, certainly in Britain, the quickest way to sour the atmosphere in a middle-class dinner party is to start pointing out that alternative medicine doesn't work, that it has an absolutely terrible track record of failing in clinical trials.
Now, there's lots of rhetorical tricks that people into counter-knowledge play on, and I was trying to think of an example to get across to the listener. And one of them is they insist that you prove a negative, and by this I mean, I'll just give you a ridiculous example, is dear listener, imagine if I came to your house now and I said to you, prove to me you're not a cannibal and that you've never eaten anyone. And you could say, you might come back with, well, no one's ever accused me of this. And you could go, well, of course they wouldn't because you've eaten them or you're hiding it or whatever. And then you'd come back and say, well, how can you've got no evidence, and I can go, well, you've just hidden the evidence. And then I could say to you, I bet you ate someone last week. And you could say, I'll bring 10 witnesses proving that I was in this location at that point and that location at this point. And then I'll go, well, that proves last week, but what about the week before that? And on and on and on it goes. And even though that sounds like a ridiculous example, that's exactly what the 9/11 conspiracy theories, it's exactly that logic. You're meant to just try to, it's put on you to prove these negatives and it's just impossible.
Yeah, and then the book or the film would say, And as we have seen, Damian is unable to refute the accusation that he ate his great aunt last Thursday or whatever. It's the as we have seen, all these little allusions and tricks. Yeah, the rhetoric of counter-knowledge is it's as old as the hills, actually, but what really annoys me is that it's being picked up by, or this material is being published by really mainstream publishers, or, as you say, in the case of the Internet and 9/11 conspiracy theories, very, very slickly packaged for a vast audience of impressionable people who think that by stumbling on a particular website, reading something that people don't want them to know, they're actually empowered themselves, and then they go and bore everybody silly with their own conspiracy theories. But the sinister side of it is that political and religious extremists can make their wild assertions seem more credible because everybody's in a sort of receptive frame of mind.
Yeah, a lot of these conspiracy theories seem to be one degree of separation away from racism. It's always the Jews or the blacks.
I mean, even the supposedly entertaining conspiracy theories saying that visitors from I don't know where, ancient Greece built the pyramids, or built the Central American Mayan cities. There's a sort of implicit racism in that, saying that the Native American inhabitants couldn't possibly have done it themselves. Yes, you're quite right. I think often there is a degree of racism implicit in it.
The other trick I've noticed they use is that usually for things that are true, such as evolution or that the Holocaust happened, it's like a convergence of evidence. Like there's like thousands of pieces of evidence. There's anecdotal evidence. There's things on paper. There's just thousands of things that point to the direction. Like, for example, that there were gas chambers. And what the conspiracy theorist does, he kind of isolates one little thing. Like he might say to me, "Well, John, how do you know there were gas chambers in the Holocaust?" And I might go, "Oh, well, Adolf Eichmann, real big-time Nazi, after the war, he said that there were." So I'm bringing that, and he'll go, "Well, how do you know he wasn't coerced into saying that? I mean, isn't it that a possibility, John, that he was coerced into saying that?" And you kind of have to, on the one hand, go, "Well, I guess so," but it's missing the point, because it's not like this one isolated thing. It's like a convergence of evidence of 1,000 things pointing in one direction.
Yeah, you're right. You see, the problem is that the truth, or the history that's overwhelmingly likely to be true, rests on a vast corpus of actually often rather dull and detailed research. And you can't produce academic papers and great files of evidence at a dinner party when somebody challenges you. You haven't necessarily memorized all the scientific research which shows that such and such a quack theory doesn't work. And so counter-knowledge has a sort of hit-and-run approach to epistemology, to how we find reliable information about the world. It's not interested in the very boring but very valuable methodology of the Enlightenment, in which you sort of piece together and very, very slowly test your own theories and crucial technique.
If it was in the library, still under the section marked fiction, that's all right.
Well,
but it's moved into the main part of the library, and it's under all kinds of technical and intellectual headings, isn't it?
It is. That's what really bothers me, actually. I mean, there are shelves marked mysteries in mainstream bookstores, and you kind of know that what's there is going to consist of wild, unproven claims. But what really bothers me is when I visit the history section of a bookshop and I find, for example, works of so-called Afrocentric history, which are designed to prove that the ancient Greeks stole all their philosophy from the African Egyptians. That really bothers me. It's the seepage of these bizarre, unproven minority theories into the curriculum and into the history rather than the fiction sections of bookstores.
The cultic milieu.
That's right, exactly, yeah. That's a great sociological phrase for it. And in the cultic milieu, one wacky theory can be combined with another, can be bolted onto another theory very, very easily, because conspiracy theorists hang out together because they've all got one thing in common, which is that people are trying to shut them up, or so they think.
Now, people might say, what's the harm done? And it kind of, if it's contained, like, there are examples with what is the harm? Like, maybe someone's into natural medicine and it's good because, they get to spend an hour in a room with an acupuncturist where it's all calm and, and they feel good, and there's a ritualistic aspect to getting acupuncture, and you get to talk to the guy, not like your mainstream doctor who just like shouts at you and then kicks you out of his, thing. But it's when it kind of gets out of its jurisdiction and starts to try to like take over other jurisdictions like science by saying, hey, don't get your kids vaccinated and so on. That's where it starts to be trouble.
Exactly. And the alternative medicine, the sort of subculture of alternative medicine was really, really behind the extremely dodgy claims that vaccination causes autism. That's a concrete and really quite frightening example of what can go wrong when these claims are given far, far too much credibility simply because they make a good story. So alternative medicine is full of good stories, it's full of miracle cures, it's full of people who by eating, blueberries manage to cure themselves of cataracts or whatever. And people read one of these good stories, and one or two claims may be true, and then they extrapolate from it. And a whole sort of medical science suddenly finds itself challenged by an imitation of real science with dodgy citations and sciencey, that's the word sometimes used, sciencey sounding claims, and people lose the ability to distinguish between properly sourced information, real science if you like, and stuff that is basically made up with a few clever-looking footnotes added to it. Now,
you're a Catholic. How do you reconcile that? Like, why aren't you a fundamentalist atheist?
Well, my response to that question is sometimes being a Catholic makes me feel uncomfortable. On the whole, I think that the claims of Catholicism and the mainstream religions tend to relate to the transcendent. They tend to relate to areas of existence in which they make claims, if you like, that can't be proved to be true or untrue. That's the essence of a lot of religious belief. Where I get uneasy as a Catholic is if the Church starts disseminating bad science, which it doesn't do on a huge scale anymore, thank God, but certainly did at one stage in its history. But I'll give you an example. When the Church throws its weight behind sophisticated creationism, for example, called intelligent design, I got very uneasy because I felt that the Catholic Church was lending support to basically bad science. Or if, for example, a cardinal claimed a few years ago that condoms can be shown scientifically not to halt the spread of AIDS. That was bad science, just designed to bolster a doctrine. So it's when my religion or anybody else's religion starts spreading pseudoscience that I say, hang on, your claims need to be shown to be, they need to be rigorously tested. And if you're spreading pseudoscience, then it's our duty, the guardians of the public domain, to show that it's not true.
Damian Thompson, author of Counter Knowledge, thanks for joining us, and please join us again.
Thanks a lot.
Girling with Who's Your Daddy?
Religious Song of the Week.
Joining us is Simon Landid from the St. Bahidas Sudanese Community Choir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
You've got to go closer to the microphone.
Good, thanks. Good.
Now, who gets to be in this choir?
What's that?
Who gets to be in the choir? Is everyone Sudanese and is everyone from a certain part of Sudan?
Yeah, they're all from southern Sudan, but the invitation is open to all the community to join the choir.
And it says here most of you met up in Egypt, so it wasn't straight from Sudan to Australia, it was via Egypt.
Yes. Majority of the choir came from Sudan, seeking the asylum in Egypt, where they met. And they were singing back home in different choirs, and they're singing for Archdiocese of Khartoum. So they met again in Cairo in Sacred Heart, which is known by Sakakini.
And why did you then move from Egypt to Australia? You're, of course, welcome here. I don't want to sound rude.
Yes, definitely, yes. Yeah, in back in Sudan, the choir, most of the choir, including myself, we fled persecution because of being Christians, and we fled to Egypt seeking asylum and refugee status, and we were resettled to Australia. And some of the choirs, of course, being settled to USA, to Canada, to other countries of the world.
Now, it says we can hear you every third Sunday of the month at St Anthony's Catholic Parish in Noble Park. Does that mean you're Catholic, or it just doesn't work like that?
Yes, we are Catholics. We are Catholics. And there's another part of the choir as well that lives on the other side of the city in St Albans. And they're also conducting a Mass on second Sunday of the month. So we go to St Albans on second Sunday, and we celebrate again in St Anthony on third Sunday of the month.
So excuse my dumbness, but Sudanese people who are Christian in Sudan, are they, what denomination of Christianity are they usually, or are they all sorts?
The different sorts of denominations. Some of them are Presbyterians, some of them are Catholics, but the Catholics are the majority in Christian community.
Yeah. And what will we be hearing now? Again, in fact, Bob, before we play the song, don't you as a Catholic want to have some kind of communion with your fellow Catholic?
We've already had it secretly and just transferring thoughts, aren't we?
Yeah.
You see, because I don't want to, because it's such a big story.
Yeah, it is.
Sudan.
Bob. It is.
Isn't it?
It is.
And to be here with us Aussies who are confused about where the next suburb is, to have somebody come and start telling the story of the Sudanese situation with the tribes and all of that, and the Arabs in the north, and our eyes glaze over, you see, which I don't want to embarrass you by asking a silly question in 5 seconds allowed to me by Maestro Safran. You see what I mean? So we'll meet again.
Yeah, you must.
You see what I mean?
Welcome,
we'll talk Catholic.
Definitely.
But not tonight. We'll only let them play
Well, you've got to ask
music.
one. You've got to have one Catholic conversation.
Yes.
Oh.
Just a quick one. Go.
Who's the Sudanese bishop?
The Sudanese bishop now, he has become a cardinal, and his name is Gabriel Zubair Wako.
Look at that.
And he's currently is going to visit Melbourne for World Youth Day in Sydney, and he's going to celebrate with us in July in Melbourne here. He's going to conduct a Mass.
In Noble Park?
Not in Noble Park, but it's going to be a big one in St Patrick in Cathedral.
Beautiful. Yes. Look at that.
And you are all invited.
See, we don't want to show off too much. I mean, us Catholics, you know, me mate here from the Sudan, and I'm his mate here from South Melbourne. We're all mates, mate. Didn't you know that?
Yeah, we are mates.
Didn't it?
We are mates.
Now,
let it rip, Jack.
Now, what are we going to be listening to now?
We are going to listen to a song called Nugadimu Gulubana.
And what does that mean?
And it translates in English, let us offer our hearts.
Exactly.
And
Let us what?
Let us offer our hearts.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Cool.
And in a community, in a poor community, and in third world like Sudan, when people have nothing to offer, there's nothing else they can offer except a heart that loves and serves the Lord, and that believes in God.
I got that outside my church. Be an organ donor, give a heart. Look at that. See, and you want to know, this is spoken across the world.
We're now going to hear from San Bajitas. I wonder if this choir is going to be better or worse than Father Bob's South Melbourne choir.
My choir is perfectly all right, thank you.
And can I say a few things before you play the song?
Yes,
and
definitely.
The song was written with by my music teacher. Light, he passed away a few months ago. And his name is Callisto Wako, his brother of the Cardinal that's visiting Melbourne. And this song, we are going to play it, and it's also a tribute to him. And the choir also is going to play on 26 down at the auditorium here in the studio. And
so where's that? On the 26th?
26th, next Thursday.
Yes.
Down in the Iwaki auditorium. It's a part
of
the
Sudanese Iwaki.
What?
It's Japanese.
Okay.
All right.
And the Sudanese are going to play there. Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us and for bringing us this song.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that was Fooled by Little Red John, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J. Hey, what about the Beatified Man's Body Tattooer?
You go on.
See, we don't eat everybody.
You don't eat everyone.
This bloke, in fact, died in 1925.
He's a Catholic, is he?
He's a Catholic. And he was only 24 when he died after having polio for a week. And he has been turned into a role model for young people because he loved sports and he was an intellectual and he died young.
And so, but what's his Catholic tie-in? What's his Catholic tie-in?
What do you mean, Catholic what?
Because they're bringing him over for World Youth Day, aren't they?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but what's he done? I don't understand the Catholic bit.
He became a kind of a role model for young Italian people because he worked with the poor, John.
And why didn't they bury him?
He worked with the poor.
Why
they did try to bury him. His tomb was opened. World Youth Day said that his body would be flown to Sydney in June in a new sealed coffin to display in St Mary's Cathedral.
Isn't that a bit weird?
Well, we do a bit of that, you know. The Catholics are a bit weird, you know, isn't it, really? I mean, we're delightful on the outside.
But is there some sort of miracle here that you... Like, did he not...
I don't think they're claiming...
decay or anything? No.
Yes, I know. He's well preserved, it says, you see, but I don't think we're actually claiming... We've made him beatified.
Oh, you have
the stage before canonisation. Now, if any...
But don't you have to prove he does a miracle then?
We have to prove that he does a miracle. And if he's canonised, I think we have to...
So
don't get me into this, because this is not
if he walks around like a mummy in Scooby-Doo,
yeah, but this is not
everyone
my
will be like...
shtick, John.
Why are you talking in Yiddish suddenly?
You have got all these key words.
By the way,
I'm only mentioning shtick.
Can you Christians get your own shtick as opposed to ripping off my people's shtick? I happened to look on YouTube this week, and your people have stolen my freaking goddamn material and stuck Christian messages over it, you know, when I got exercise, implying that what I'm doing is to somehow demonstrate the message of Christ and to come over to Christ.
Truly.
They've just, like, typed everything over me whilst I'm doing my shtick.
Who did it?
I don't know, some Christians.
What, they hacked?
No, they didn't hack. They just took my thing and then typed things over it. And now when you watch it, it looks like my show is somehow some little public service announcement for the Christians.
Oh, I never noticed that. What is it, www what?
Just youtube.com. I'd better not find out it was you.
No,
hey, I just looked at
like
FooFighters.com because Foo Fighters, because we're talking about counter knowledge.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, because, dear listener, it's such an expansive topic. I didn't know how to kind of contain it or what to do. But you're probably wondering, you're probably saying to yourself, like, what's the big deal? And in some contexts, it's not a big deal. Like, as I said with the acupuncturist, like, there's a ritualistic aspect to it, and there's a fun aspect to it, and there's an intellectual thing.
And homeopathy.
And you learn about Chinese culture and stuff. So it's really good. And there's also, like, a ritualistic thing. Yeah. There's also a solace thing. You get to kind of go away in your little cave for an hour away from the busy world. So it is, like, helpful on that level. Yeah. I'm not dissing it. Right. But it's when it kind of goes outside its jurisdiction and tries to influence, it can be really damaging. And the classic example is the AIDS denial movement. These are people who some of them, it's like different camps, and some of them don't believe HIV exists, and others believe it exists, but it doesn't cause AIDS. And then with this, and they frame this whole thing in the language of sort of the natural medicine and the environmental movement. They talk about we have to look for a way for like more natural cures to AIDS and stuff. And they just frame it so you think you're listening to some guy from Greenpeace or whatever. But basically they're telling you not to take your AIDS medicine. And that's obviously makes you die in a lot of cases.
And you say that's obvious.
And they were so successful, the AIDS denial movement, that Mbeki, is that his name?
Yes.
President Mbeki in South Africa during the 90s when they had like the highest rate of HIV infection anywhere in the world, and people were like dropping off 1,000 a day. He was quoting these LA AIDS deniers for the reason he wasn't going to distribute the conventional medicine that they distribute in the West.
Yes.
He wasn't going to distribute it, even though they had all the money and all these foreign donors were giving him millions specifically for this case. And he was quoting the LA AIDS deniers. It's just, AIDS dissidents, because they want to sound braver.
Well, you don't,
And if you want to, in some bitter irony, but I just say this to try to teach you to take your AIDS medicine, kiddies, is the woman who founded this movement, or one of the leaders, Christine Majori. She had AIDS, but said, or was tested for tested for HIV, but said she didn't have it, even though the test said she did, or whatever. She was at the head of this movement. And when she had a child, she refused to have the child tested, and she refused to do things such as not breastfeed her child, which is the advice you give people who are HIV positive. And she refused to do that. And I think it was last year or the year before, her kid died of pneumonia. That was, the coroner said, was tied to AIDS and HIV.
They make a very powerful argument, John.
And yet, you go on the Foo Fighter website. Sorry, this is how it all started. And because that was one of their causes, the Foo Fighters. But I just went on to foofighters.com just then, and they've taken it off as one of their causes. They've taken it off. So maybe the Foo Fighters aren't into AIDS descent anymore.
That was there when we started the program, but they've actually taken it off while you've been speaking. So it just shows you.
And it's irritating. As I said, they frame it. If you read when you used to read the Foo Fighters website, it was irritating because they'd frame the whole thing as if it's some sort of environmental hippie lefty type thing, when really it's like, just take your AIDS medicine.
You've never liked the Foo Fighters, have you?
No, I thought...
musically you didn't like them, and now you've actually dumped
so you're
them.
saying I've just used
I'm
this as an
suggesting...
excuse.
I'm only a member of the cultic milieu.
I didn't care either. Like, they weren't my cup of tea. It's not my
you haven't been
genre.
hunting them.
It's not my genre, really, right? But I didn't care either way. But in their video clips where Dave Grohl plays all the different characters... I find that a bit much. Like, where he's suddenly like doing the Eddie Murphy, I'm Chris Lilly, I'm doing all the characters type thing. But I just found him a bit like... he just kind of grinned too much a bit. It was all a bit too over the top.
Yeah, I see your friend John.
In fact, I don't even care about their whole AIDS dissident thing. I couldn't give a stuff. I just don't. I find him quite irritating. I'm just trying to think of any excuse.
Exactly. You dragged that other in, didn't you? Really? As counter knowledge.
Yes.
Your friend John Butler won a medal.
John Butler. Yes. He was also on. He was also on. He was a question on Wheel of Fortune.
Ah. See.
And you might think I'm jealous, but if anyone says to me, John, you were jealous of John Butler because he was a Wheel of Fortune question, and you've never been a Wheel of Fortune question.
What about
Can I point out that I'm an Australian edition Trivial Pursuit question?
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I knew that would impress you.
Oh, I like that's.
Craig Melville, my friend and colleague, was once playing Trivial Pursuit, and then he rang me. He goes, John, I'm playing Trivial Pursuit. And you're a question.
Interesting. I've never been that.
So John Butler, just because you're a Wheel of Fortune question, just don't get too cocky.
Yeah. Now, what about this that I saw on your car?
Now,
this sticker on your car, John.
You
sponsor a lion for World Youth Day. 300,000 Catholics in one stadium. Now that's going a bit far.
Can we thank Maysoon Zayid from You Don't Mess With the Zohan? She was joining us from a rooftop just outside of Bethlehem, or actually in Bethlehem. Thank you very much. Roy Williams, author of God, actually.
Yes.
Thank you. Author of Counter Knowledge. You can go to counterknowledge.com. That's his website. Damian Thompson. And, of course, we have to thank Simon Landid.
The choir leader from the
And thank you, Father Bob. And go to triplej.net.au/Safran if you want to write and type anything.
And go to my webpage, fatherbob.com.au.
Triple J.